A hollow wind rattled the cabin walls when something struck his door. Once. Then again. Weaker this time. He almost ignored it. Out here, nothing came without a reason, and rarely a good one. But when he opened it, a half-frozen German shepherd collapsed at his feet, her body shielding something buried beneath the snow. And a man who thought his life was already over was about to be pulled back into it. Before we begin, please support us by subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to leave a comment about this story. The blizzard came down like a living thing, swallowing the mountain in white silence and wind that howled like something ancient and hungry. Ryan Carter sat alone inside his small wooden cabin, the kind of place that seemed forgotten by time itself. At 35, he carried the kind of presence that made a room feel smaller without him saying a word. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a powerful chest shaped by years of discipline, his dark brown hair cut short in a military style, light stubble lining a sharp jaw. His eyes were steady, watchful, the kind that had learned to scan for danger long before noticing comfort. A former Navy SEAL, though nothing about his current life spoke of honor or glory, only quiet survival. War had not broken him, but it had taken something from him, something he had never quite managed to name. He held a cold beer loosely in one hand, watching the fire struggle in the stone fireplace. The cabin was warm, but not enough to chase away the kind of cold that lived deeper than skin. This was how he lived now, far from people, far from noise, far from anything that might remind him of the life he used to have. At his feet lay Max. The German shepherd was 6 years old, large and powerfully built, his black and tan coat thick against the cold, ears upright, amber eyes sharp and intelligent. There was no restlessness in him, no wasted movement. He didn't bark without reason. He didn't react without purpose. He had the quiet discipline of something that had seen enough to understand restraint. If Ryan was the man who had learned to survive, Max was the one who had chosen to stay. The wind slammed against the cabin walls. The fire cracked, and then a sound, soft, uneven, scratching. Max's head lifted instantly, his ears sharpened forward, body tensing just enough to signal awareness, not panic. Ryan didn't move right away. He listened. The sound came again. Scrape, scrape. Too irregular to be the wind, too weak to be a threat. He stood, not quickly, not slowly, just precisely. Every movement controlled, deliberate. The kind of movement that came from training, from muscle memory, that never truly faded. Max rose with him. Ryan walked toward the back door, his boots heavy against the wooden floor, the faint creak of each step swallowed by the storm outside. The scratching came again, softer now, like whatever was out there was running out of strength. He reached the door and paused. His hand rested on the handle. For a brief second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not fear, not hesitation, but calculation. Years ago, a sound like that could mean a trap, a distraction, a mistake you didn't survive. Max stood just behind him, silent, waiting. Ryan opened the door. The wind hit him like a wall. Snow blasted into his face, sharp and biting, instantly numbing his skin. The world outside was nothing but white chaos, shadows swallowed by the storm, shapes distorted by the endless swirl of snow. And then he saw it. A dog, a female, collapsed against a pile of frozen firewood near the porch. She was skeletal, her ribs visible beneath matted fur clumped with ice and dried blood. Her body trembled uncontrollably, teeth chattering in weak, uneven clicks. But it wasn't the cold that stopped Ryan's breath. It was her belly, swollen, heavy. She was pregnant, and close. Too close. Ryan stepped forward without thinking, the snow crunching under his boots. He crouched slowly, lowering himself to her level. Up close he could see the exhaustion in her breathing shallow, her eyes half-lidded, yet still searching, still aware, still fighting. He extended his hand. Slow, steady, open. The dog looked at him. For a moment the storm seemed to quiet, not outside, but between them. There was no growl, no fear left to show, only a fragile, fading trust. She lowered her head and pressed it into his palm. Ryan exhaled, something tight in his chest loosening just slightly. Behind him, Max stepped closer. He didn't bark, didn't challenge. He simply stood, watching the stranger with a stillness that carried its own kind of judgment. His amber eyes moved from the dog to her belly, then back to Ryan. Ryan glanced at him. No words, none needed. He reached for a thick wool blanket hanging near the door, stepping back out into the storm. The cold bit through his clothes instantly, but he ignored it. Carefully, he slid the blanket beneath the dog, wrapping it around her trembling body. She didn't resist, didn't even try. She was too far gone. Ryan tightened his grip and began pulling her toward the cabin, each movement slow but firm, dragging both her weight and the snow that clung to her fur. Max stepped aside as they crossed the threshold. The door slammed shut behind them. The storm remained outside, but something else had entered. Ryan laid the dog down near the fire. The warmth began to reach her almost immediately, though her body still shook violently. He knelt beside her, his hands moving with quiet efficiency, checking her breathing, scanning for injuries, assessing without panic. Max circled once, then lowered himself beside her head, close enough to guard, far enough not to threaten. The firelight flickered across all three of them, man, dog, and something caught between life and death. Ryan's gaze shifted again to her stomach. It moved, a small uneven contraction. His jaw tightened. He had seen this before. Different context, different battlefield, but the same truth. They didn't have time. Not much. He leaned back slightly, running a hand over his face, already calculating what needed to be done, what he had, what he didn't. Then he noticed something. Max wasn't looking at him. Max wasn't even looking at the dog. His eyes were fixed, completely locked on the dog's belly, unblinking, tense, alert in a way Ryan had never seen before. And for the first time since opening that door, something unfamiliar slipped into Ryan's chest. Not fear. Not yet. But something close. The storm did not ease. It pressed harder, as if the mountain itself wanted to test what had just been pulled inside. Ryan Carter remained kneeling beside the fire, his body still, but his mind already moving 3 steps ahead. The cabin smelled of wet fur, smoke, and something sharper. Iron. Faint, but unmistakable. Blood. He had learned long ago that the body always told the truth before the mind could catch up. And right now, everything about the dog in front of him said one thing. Time was running out. The pregnant dog lay on the blanket, her sides heaving unevenly, each breath shallow and strained. Up close, Ryan could see more than before. The torn patches in her fur, the shallow cuts along her flank, the way her back legs trembled as though they might give out completely. She wasn't just cold. She was exhausted, pushed past whatever limit had kept her moving this far. Max did not leave her side. The German Shepherd had shifted position, lowering himself near her head, his body angled slightly toward Ryan, but his gaze locked onto her face. His ears were forward, his breathing steady, but there was tension beneath it, controlled, contained, like a coiled spring waiting for a signal. Ryan noticed something subtle then. Max blinked slowly. Once, twice. Not a threat response, not curiosity. Recognition. Ryan didn't question it. Not yet. Instead, he moved. He stood, crossing the cabin in 2 long steps, grabbing a stack of clean towels from a wooden shelf, then a dented metal pot from the stove. He filled it with water and set it near the fire, close enough to heat, not enough to boil. His movements were efficient, stripped of hesitation, shaped by years where hesitation cost lives. Behind him, the dog let out a low sound. Not quite a whine, not quite a growl. Pain. Ryan turned immediately, dropping back to one knee beside her. "It's starting," he muttered, mostly to himself. But Max heard it. The dog's ears twitched. His body leaned forward just slightly, closing the distance between himself and the struggling mother. The first contraction hit. Her body arched, muscles tightening under her thin skin, a tremor running from her shoulders down to her hind legs. Her jaw clenched, teeth bared, not in aggression, but in instinct, in the raw, uncontrollable force of survival. Ryan placed a steady hand near her shoulder, not pressing, not restraining, just there. "I know," he said quietly. "Easy." His voice was low, even, carrying the same tone he had once used to steady men in chaos. Max shifted closer. He lowered his head until his nose nearly touched hers. No sound. Just presence. The dog's breathing hitched. Then, the first puppy came. Small, wet, barely moving. Ryan moved fast, but not rushed. He lifted the fragile body, clearing the membrane, rubbing it gently with a towel until a faint, shaky breath pushed through. A soft, fragile squeak followed. Alive. He placed it carefully near the mother's side. No celebration. No pause. The second contraction was already coming. The rhythm began to build. Time lost its shape. Minutes blurred into motion. Hands, breath, tension. The second puppy came easier, then the third. Each one fragile, each one a fight. Ryan worked without speaking much, his focus absolute. Sweat formed along his temples despite the cold, his shirt damp at the collar. His injured hand, scratched from earlier, tightened and flexed as he worked, ignoring the sting. Max never left his position, but his behavior changed. Each time a puppy was born, he leaned in slightly, nostrils flaring, as if memorizing their scent. Then he would pull back, returning his attention to the mother, guarding her, monitoring her. Ryan noticed the pattern. Again, he didn't question it. Not yet. Then the fourth contraction came, and everything changed. The mother's body seized harder this time, too hard. Her breathing broke into sharp, panicked bursts. Her eyes widened, pupils blown, something deeper than pain flashing through them. Ryan's posture shifted instantly. This wasn't routine. This was wrong. He leaned forward, assessing quickly, his hands moving with precision, searching for the problem. There. The fourth puppy. Stuck. Ryan exhaled slowly, his jaw tightening just a fraction. "All right," he murmured. "Stay with me." The dog let out a sudden guttural cry, raw, primal, tearing through the room. Her body convulsed, and in that instant of blind instinct, she turned and bit down, hard. Her jaws clamped onto Ryan's forearm, teeth sinking deep through fabric and into flesh. Blood spread immediately. Max was on his feet in a second, not barking, not lunging, but standing tall, body rigid, eyes locked, ready. Ryan didn't pull away, didn't flinch. He froze, not out of fear, but control. His voice came out low, steady, unshaken. "It's okay. Another breath. I know." He let her hold on to him, let her use him. His other hand continued working, slow, careful, guiding the trapped puppy, adjusting angle, applying just enough pressure. Seconds stretched. The dog's grip tightened once more. Then loosened. The puppy slipped free. Ryan caught it immediately, pulling it clear. A weak movement. A breath. Alive. The mother released him completely, her body collapsing back against the blanket, exhausted beyond resistance. Max lowered his head slightly, tension easing, but not gone. Ryan glanced at his arm briefly. Blood. Deep, but controlled. He ignored it. Instead, he focused on the puppy, clearing its airway, stimulating it until a faint cry filled the space. 4. 4 alive. He leaned back for the first time, drawing in a slow breath. But the mother wasn't done. Her body trembled again, weaker now, but still fighting. Ryan's eyes shifted to her belly. Still movement. Still one more. He exchanged a look with Max. A silent understanding passed between them. This wasn't over. Not yet. And something in the air, something quiet, something unspoken, felt heavier than the storm outside. The fire had burned lower, its glow softer now, as if even the flames were growing tired of the long night. Ryan Carter remained where he was, one knee pressed into the wooden floor, his body leaning forward just enough to stay within reach of the dog. His arm throbbed where the bite had sunk deep, blood dried in dark streaks against his sleeve, but he paid it no attention. Pain, to him, was not a signal to stop. It was information. And right now, there were more urgent things to read. The mother lay nearly motionless, her sides rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. The strength that had carried her this far was fading, slipping away piece by piece. But her body had not finished. Ryan could see it. Another contraction. Weak, delayed, but there. "One more," he murmured quietly, his voice steady, almost gentle. Max didn't move. The German shepherd stood closer now than before, his large frame casting a shadow over the small cluster of life beside the fire. His ears were still forward, but his body had changed. The earlier tension had settled into something deeper, focus, almost solemn. His amber eyes did not leave the mother, as if he understood the weight of what was about to happen. The cabin felt smaller. The storm outside felt farther away. Everything narrowed to this one moment. The contraction came slowly, painfully, like the last effort of a body pushed beyond its limit. The mother let out a faint, broken sound, barely more than a breath, and then the fifth puppy slid free. Ryan caught it in both hands, and immediately knew. No movement, no sound, no breath. The small body lay limp against his palms, its color wrong, too pale, too still. The thin chest did not rise. The fragile limbs hung without resistance. For a brief second, Ryan didn't move. Not because he didn't know what to do, but because something deeper, older, rose inside him. The memory of moments like this, where the line between life and death was no thicker than a thread, and sometimes, no matter what you did, it snapped anyway. Max stepped closer. One step, then another. He didn't touch the puppy. He didn't make a sound. But his presence shifted, lower, closer, as if drawn by something invisible. Ryan exhaled slowly. "No," he said under his breath. "Not this one." His hands moved, fast, but controlled. He cleared the membrane from the puppy's face, wiping away fluid with a towel, his fingers careful, precise. He tilted the tiny body slightly downward, allowing gravity to help clear the airway. Nothing. He adjusted, used his thumb and forefinger to gently press along the rib cage, mimicking the rhythm of a heartbeat, small measured compressions against a chest no thicker than his palm. Still nothing. The silence in the room deepened. The fire cracked softly. Outside the wind roared, but it felt distant now, like a world that no longer mattered. Ryan leaned closer, his breath steady. "Come on," he whispered, voice rough but controlled. "You're not done." He reached for a small rubber baster from the kitchen drawer, a simple tool, nothing more, and used it carefully, drawing fluid from the puppy's nostrils. His movements were methodical, almost surgical, every step deliberate. Max lowered his head further. His nose hovered inches from the puppy, not touching, waiting. Ryan resumed compressions. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Again. His jaw tightened, the muscles along his cheek flexing with restrained intensity. Sweat gathered at his temples, despite the cold air still lingering in the cabin. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time no longer behaved the way it should. The puppy remained still, and something inside Ryan shifted. Not panic. Never panic. But something heavier. Something that felt dangerously close to failure. He adjusted his grip, his thumbs pressing a little more firmly, his breathing slowing even further, forcing calm into his own body. "I've seen worse than this," he muttered quietly. "You're not leaving here." Max made the smallest sound then. Not a bark, not a whine, a low, almost inaudible exhale. Ryan didn't look at him, but he felt it, felt the weight of it. He continued, again, 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 and then a twitch, so small it could have been imagined. Ryan froze, his eyes locked onto the tiny chest. Another twitch, a faint, uneven movement beneath his fingers. "Yeah," he whispered, barely audible now. "That's it." He adjusted his hands, easing the pressure, guiding rather than forcing. The puppy's chest gave a sudden, shallow hitch, a breath. Weak, fragile, but real. Then, a thin, high-pitched sound, a single trembling squeak, the smallest declaration of life. Ryan exhaled sharply, the tension leaving his body in a slow, controlled release. His shoulders dropped just slightly, the only sign of what that moment had cost him. Max lifted his head. His ears relaxed. The intensity in his eyes softened, just enough to show something else beneath it. Relief. Ryan wrapped the puppy in a dry towel, rubbing gently, encouraging warmth back into its small body. The faint cry came again, slightly stronger this time, fragile, but persistent. Alive. He placed the puppy beside its siblings, closer to the mother's chest. The mother didn't move much, but her head shifted just slightly, her nose brushing against the small cluster of bodies as if counting them. 5. All 5. Ryan leaned back for the first time, resting his weight against his heel. His injured arm hung at his side, forgotten for the moment. He looked at the 5 small lives gathered there, then at the mother, then at Max. Max met his gaze. No words, none needed. But something had changed. Not in the room, in him. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside the cabin, something else had taken hold. Not victory, not yet, but survival. And for the first time in a long time, Ryan allowed himself a single quiet thought. Maybe that was enough. 3 days later, the storm broke, leaving the mountain buried in silence beneath a sky too clear to trust. Ryan Carter stepped out of the cabin, boots sinking deep into the snow that had swallowed the path completely. The air was sharp, clean, almost painfully still after nights of relentless wind. For a moment he stood there, scanning the horizon out of habit, his posture straight, shoulders squared, eyes moving with quiet calculation. Even here, even now, he never truly stopped assessing. Behind him, the cabin door opened. Max emerged first. The German shepherd moved with controlled ease, his large muscular frame cutting through the cold air, black and tan coat thick against the snow's glare. His ears were upright, amber eyes alert but calm, taking in every detail with silent discipline. He paused just long enough to glance back inside. Waiting. Ryan turned, stepping back into the cabin. The warmth felt different now. Not just heat, but something lived in. Something shared. Near the fireplace, the mother dog lay wrapped in blankets, her body no longer trembling, her breathing shallow but steady. The 5 puppies were pressed close against her, their small forms stronger now, their faint movements no longer desperate, but instinctive. The smallest one still stayed closest to her chest, still fighting. Ryan crouched beside them, his expression unreadable, though something softer lingered beneath the surface now. He adjusted the blanket slightly, making sure no cold air reached them. "We're going," he said quietly. The mother's eyes opened. She looked at him, not with fear, not with confusion, with understanding. Max stepped closer, lowering his head briefly near hers, a silent acknowledgement before stepping back again. Ryan moved carefully, lifting the mother along with the blanket, keeping her supported, steady. She didn't resist, didn't tense. She simply allowed it, her trust now complete in a way that required no words. Outside, the truck waited, old, worn, reliable. Ryan placed her gently in the passenger seat, layering more blankets around her, securing the small, fragile bodies against movement. Each motion was deliberate, precise, like handling something far more fragile than it appeared. Max jumped into the truck bed without command, settling into position, his gaze fixed forward. Ryan got in. The engine groaned, then turned over. They began the descent. The road was barely visible, carved only by instinct and memory beneath layers of snow. Ryan drove slowly, hands steady on the wheel, every movement controlled. He didn't rush, didn't take risks, not with this. Inside the truck it was quiet, only the low hum of the engine and the soft, uneven sounds of life behind him. He glanced once at the mother. Her eyes were open, watching him, not asking, not doubting. Just there. The town came into view like something from another world. Rooftops buried in white, chimneys breathing thin trails of smoke, life returning cautiously after being held under. Ryan pulled up in front of a modest building. A small wooden sign read, "Creekside Veterinary Care." He stepped out, cold air biting instantly. Max was already on the ground, standing near the passenger side, body relaxed, but attentive. Ryan opened the door, lifting the mother again, careful not to disturb the puppies. Inside, warmth, light, the smell of antiseptic and clean surfaces. A door opened from the back room. Dr. Evelyn Hart stepped out quickly, already pulling on a pair of gloves. She was in her early 40s, tall and slender, her ash-blonde hair tied into a low bun, a few loose strands framing a face marked by quiet resilience. Her pale skin carried faint lines at the edges of her eyes, not from age, but from years of witnessing both loss and survival. Her gaze was sharp, observant, but not cold. The kind of woman who had chosen to care, even when it hurt. She took in the scene in one glance: the man, the dog, the blood, the puppies. Her tone remained calm. "Set her here." Ryan moved to the examination table, placing the mother down carefully. Max stayed close, positioning himself just within view, watching. Always watching. Dr. Hart worked quickly, checking vitals, her hands steady, efficient. "She's been through trauma," she said, mostly to herself. "Severe exhaustion, dehydration." Her fingers paused briefly at the dog's neck, then moved lower, scanning. She reached for a handheld device from the counter. Ryan watched, didn't ask. The scanner passed slowly along the dog's body. A pause. Then, a soft beep. Dr. Hart's expression shifted, subtle but unmistakable. She straightened slightly, turning toward the computer, typing quickly, eyes scanning the screen as information loaded. The room felt different, heavier. Ryan didn't move, didn't speak. He just watched her. After a moment, she exhaled slowly. "She has a microchip," she said. Ryan's jaw tightened just slightly. Dr. Hart turned back toward him, her eyes now carrying something deeper than clinical focus. "Her name is Lady." The word settled into the room. Not astray, not lost. Ryan said nothing. Dr. Hart continued, her voice quieter now. "She belongs to a family, from out of state." She hesitated, then added, "They were in a car accident 3 nights ago, during the storm." Ryan's gaze sharpened. Dr. Hart's eyes didn't leave his. "Their vehicle went off the road, down a slope outside town. It was buried in snow." Max shifted slightly. Ryan didn't. "The rescue team found them," she continued, "barely alive." A pause. Then, "They said something strange." Ryan finally spoke. "What?" Dr. Hart looked down briefly, then back at him. "They didn't find them by chance." Her voice softened, but didn't lose its clarity. "They followed tracks." Ryan's brow tightened. "Dog tracks." Silence filled the room. Dr. Hart's eyes moved to Lady. The mother dog lay still, her breathing slow, steady now, peaceful. "She stayed with them," Dr. Hart said quietly. "Until help came." Another pause. And then she disappeared. Ryan looked at the dog. Really looked this time, not as something he had saved, but as something that had already saved others. Dr. Hart's voice came again, low, certain. "She didn't run." A beat. "She went to find help." Ryan said nothing. His eyes remained on Lady. Her gaze met his. No fear, no desperation. Only a calm that came from something already completed. Something already done. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and quiet hope. The kind that lingered in hallways where people waited between loss and something close to grace. Ryan Carter stood just inside the entrance, shoulders squared but still, his presence drawing subtle glances from those nearby. At 35, he looked like a man built for conflict, tall, broad, with a sharp jaw and short dark hair that framed a face weathered not by age, but by experience. Yet there was something different in his eyes now. Not softness, not quite, but a steadiness that no longer felt empty. Beside him, Max stood calmly, his black and tan coat brushed clean, his posture composed, ears upright but relaxed. He scanned the environment without tension, the way a trained protector does when he senses no threat, only importance. In Ryan's arms, wrapped in a simple blanket, was the smallest puppy, the one that had not breathed. Now, it slept, alive. At the far end of the hospital lobby, a family waited. The father stood first, mid-40s, tall, with a strong build softened slightly by exhaustion. His dark hair was streaked faintly with gray at the temples, his posture tense, but held together by something deeper than fear. A man used to responsibility, but not to losing control. Beside him sat a woman, early 40s, slender, with long brown hair pulled loosely behind her shoulders, her pale skin still marked by healing bruises along her cheek. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, knuckles white, her eyes fixed on the hallway ahead as if afraid to blink. And between them, a little girl. No more than 7. Small, fragile in appearance, with light brown hair falling unevenly to her shoulders, one side still held back by a simple hospital clip. A bandage wrapped lightly around her forehead, but her eyes, wide, searching, filled with something too large for her age, never stopped moving, waiting, hoping. The moment she saw the dog, everything broke. "Lady." The cry tore through the quiet space, sharp and pure. She ran, not fast, her body still weak, but determined, every step driven by something stronger than pain. Ryan didn't step back, didn't hesitate. He lowered himself just enough as the mother dog, Lady, lifted her head from the blanket on the stretcher, her body still recovering, but her eyes instantly alive. The girl reached her and collapsed into her, arms wrapping tightly around the dog's neck, her face buried deep into her fur. "I thought you were gone," she sobbed. "I thought you left." Lady didn't move much, didn't jump, didn't struggle. She simply leaned into the child, her body pressing gently forward, her nose brushing against the girl's cheek with a softness that needed no strength. The room stilled. The father turned away slightly, one hand rising to his mouth. The mother covered her lips, tears slipping quietly down her face. Even the nurses nearby paused, their movements slowing, their voices fading into silence. Some reunions didn't need words. This was one of them. Ryan stepped back. Max followed, moving in perfect sync, positioning himself just behind Ryan's leg, watching, not guarding, not tense, just present. The father approached slowly, his steps measured, as if unsure how to stand inside a moment like this. "You're the one who found her," he said, his voice low, controlled, but carrying the weight of everything he couldn't fully say. Ryan nodded once. "She found me." The man exhaled, a faint broken sound escaping before he could stop it. He extended his hand, gripping Ryan's forearm firmly, not as a formality, but as something real. "You saved her," he said. Ryan didn't respond, didn't deny it, but didn't accept it either. His gaze shifted instead, to the girl, still holding on to Lady, still crying and laughing at the same time. The mother stepped forward next, her movements softer, her voice quieter. "We don't know how to thank you," she said. "Whatever you need, anything, we'll make it happen. Money, resources, connections. It was all there, unspoken but understood." Ryan shook his head. "I don't need anything." He meant it. There was no hesitation, no performance, just truth. The father frowned slightly, searching for something else to offer. "There has to be something." Ryan looked down, at the small bundle in his arms. The puppy stirred slightly, a faint sound escaping as it shifted closer into the warmth. Ryan adjusted the blanket, then looked back up. "I'll take this one." Silence. Not confusion. Understanding. The mother smiled first, a quiet, knowing expression. "Of course," she said softly. The father nodded. The girl, still holding Lady, looked up briefly, her tear-streaked face breaking into a small, tired smile. "Take care of him," she whispered. Ryan met her gaze. "I will." 1 year later. Summer settled gently over the mountain, warm and steady, the kind of season that didn't demand anything, just existed. The cabin stood the same, but everything inside it had changed. The yard was no longer still, grass bent under movement, laughter, quiet, almost unfamiliar, drifted through the air. A young German shepherd raced across the open space, larger now, strong, his black and tan coat gleaming under the sunlight. His movements were fast, uncoordinated in the way of youth, chasing nothing and everything at once. Alive in a way that felt limitless. Max lay nearby, older now, his once razor-sharp posture softened just slightly by time, but his eyes remained the same, calm, watchful, steady. He tracked the younger dog's movement without moving his head, a silent guardian who no longer needed to prove anything. Ryan sat on the wooden porch. A cold beer rested loosely in his hand. He didn't drink much, didn't need to. He watched. The younger dog ran past, skidding slightly, then circling back, stopping just long enough to nudge Ryan's knee before taking off again. Ryan's hand followed him instinctively, brushing along his back. A small gesture, but one that lingered. Max shifted slightly, moving closer, settling near Ryan's feet. Ryan reached down, his hand resting briefly on Max's head. One dog, then the other. One had stood beside him when everything felt empty. The other had filled that space. Ryan leaned back slightly, his gaze drifting out across the horizon. The mountains stretched endlessly, quiet, still, but no longer lonely. And somewhere, deep in the memory of a night buried under snow and wind, there remained a simple truth. Sometimes a life doesn't change because of something you search for. Sometimes it changes because you opened the door. Sometimes miracles don't arrive with thunder or light from the sky. Sometimes they come quietly, on 4 trembling legs, knocking on a door in the middle of a storm. And maybe, just maybe, that knock is not an accident, but a whisper from God, asking a simple question: will you open your heart? In a world that often feels cold and distant, we are given moments, small, fragile chances to choose compassion over indifference, courage over fear. And in those moments, we don't just save others, we are saved ourselves. If this story touched your heart, take it as a reminder that God's miracles are still alive in our everyday lives, hidden in the ordinary, waiting for someone willing to see them. Share this story with someone who needs hope today. Comment below. What is the most beautiful act of kindness you've ever witnessed? Subscribe to the channel to keep these stories alive and reaching more hearts. May God bless you, protect your loved ones, and guide your path, even in the darkest storms.